So thanks for coming, everybody. Today's panel is graduates from last year's senior class talking about kind of their college experience while they were at BG, and then kind of since they've been at their respective colleges. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have all of them kind of introduce themselves, what schools they go to, and then what their major or what their academic focus is right now. If you guys want to ask questions, you can put them in the group chat, and we'll kind of go through them as we can. And then the students will kind of answer some questions that we've asked them previously, so they have some thoughts on that. Okay? So, Sam, why don't you start for us?
All right. Hey guys. My name is Sam Boudreau. I graduated last year. I'm attending Eckerd College right now in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm studying economics. It's pretty cool.
Taylor?
Hi guys, my name is Taylor Prue, graduated last year. I'm attending Quinnipiac University. I'm a finance major in the 3+1 MBA program. So I'll finish my undergraduate in 3 years, and then my fourth year I'll be receiving my MBA degree.
One of the brothers went over because they hadn't heard from her. They couldn't get in touch with her, and she was alive.
Okay. Sydney, why don't you go?
I'm Sydney Todd. I go to Southern New Hampshire University, and my major is criminal justice, and I might add a minor in sociology or psychology.
All right. Emily?
I'm Emily Sansom. I graduated last year. I go to Plymouth State. My major is meteorology, and I'm minoring in math.
Mark?
My name is Mark McGackey, and I go to Loyola University, Maryland, and I'm studying econ.
Stephen?
My name is Stephen McClendon. I attend Babson College in Wellesley, Mass., and I'm concentrating in finance.
Gabby?
My name's Gabby Sousa. I graduated last year. I'm going to Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island. I'm studying psychology, and I might major in criminal justice.
All right. And Noah?
Hi, I'm Noah Tharian. I graduated last year. I go to Endicott College in Beverly, Mass., and I am majoring in engineering.
All right. Okay, so for those people that just joined, we just introduced the college freshmen. If you guys have any questions, you can type them into the chat section, and we'll get to them as they come through. The only thing that we are asking is if you wouldn't mind just turning on your cameras so we can see everybody, just because it makes it a little more personable, and we'll get going. So for you guys, what do you think has been the toughest or like the hardest adjustment to the college life from high school and just being, living at home in general?
I think the craziest thing for me was, especially to my roommates. I was lucky enough to get a roommate that's from New Hampshire as well and kind of understands the whole entire New Hampshire thing. But I guess rooming people from different parts of the country is different because they come from different places and different morals and different backgrounds. So getting used to them is definitely a big challenge. The other thing is the people. You got to be aware of when you go to different colleges around the country. Again, people are much different than you are. So adjusting to that kind of was a little bit difficult for me at first, but I definitely got there. And then the probably toughest part for me was physically. I play a sport at Eckerd. I play baseball, and so the physical challenge every single day, waking up and going out there and competing against some of the best guys. It was definitely hard, but I made that adjustment. It was definitely not that easy, but it was good.
Yeah, I'll go. Say it's definitely nice being able to be on my own time and make my own decisions when it's not really a lot of structure going on outside of class. So I had a tough adjustment having to develop a routine, and in the first few weeks when college started, there's so much going on, so many events, and so I had once everything I finally settled in, I tried a few different routines. I developed a 9 to 5 approach where I didn't have any classes at night, so I'd go to class, and then in between I'd go to the library and get work done. So then at nighttime, I'd be able to like hang out with friends and have and go to club meetings and such like that. Definitely saved a lot of stress at night when getting my work done early during the day. And also like another tough adjustment I had was I didn't play in the sport in college, and I missed competing, and to fill that void, like it was really tough at first. So like just getting involved and going to trying new organizations and going to clubs, just finding other kids who have the same interests as me. Like that took a little while to get acclimated, but definitely I finally found my place at school.
Kind of like what Sam said, it's like you should definitely try and find yourself like a good group of friends, because you're like, it's the first time being like off on your own, and you need to feel like home kind of, and your roommate's definitely like a big part of that. You want to like your roommate, so definitely try and get to know your roommate over the summer and like text them and get to know them. And there's a lot of like different activities the first few weeks of college that like help you to get to know people, and a sport can definitely help that. But if you don't play a sport, there's also like activities that you can do.
Yeah, kind of like what Sid said
You can go, Gabby.
about liking your roommate. Yeah, don't cut me off him. I went random, and I did not like my roommate, and that was definitely a hard adjustment. And she didn't play sports, and I played basketball there. So that was kind of hard. We had different schedules, and then for me, adjusting to like the basketball schedule along with schoolwork was hard, because we wouldn't get out of practice till like 12 o'clock at night, and I would wait to do my homework till then, and I had 8 a.m.s every day. So definitely trying to find like the right time with my off time to do my homework before practice was something that I needed to learn. And then again, making friends that you kind of agree with it helps it go along really, really easy.
Yeah, going along with what Gabby said, I did not have the best roommate situation at the beginning of the year, which definitely took a toll on like how like I was making friends too. But yeah, like everyone said, a big thing is like really going out, like getting out there. Like it's easy because it's like BG, like going into a new school, meeting all new friends. So I didn't really have a hard time doing that. But I play lacrosse at Plymouth too. And this for like a D3 school, the schedule is pretty tough, especially when the season comes around. So you just have to learn with like time management and stuff.
Yeah, going off everyone else that said, it's more trying to find the time to do homework and to make friends in the first week of school there. My school, Endicott, they had a full 3-4 days of doing activities with groups dealing with your major, but also I play baseball at Endicott, but also being on a team helps as well. It also is helpful to try and find time when to do homework, because with practices, for me in the fall, they would end at 12:30 at night. I'd have to find time to do homework in between then, after classes, before dinner, before practice. It's just trying to find good time management with having a sport and managing your classes.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest adjustment for me too, like having like so much free time and like not having classes throughout like the whole day, like just finding time to go do your work and like stay productive instead of just going like and sitting around and doing nothing. That was the biggest adjustment for me.
Yeah, I think so too. The whole time management thing is a big deal. Like you're gonna find that you're gonna have a lot of free time just did not have in high school. And if you balance your schedule well and you get your homework done and like you go to classes and you get all that done early, you're gonna find that you're gonna have a lot more free time. And then you can use that to like making friends or like finding your niche or like whatever you want to do, like join an extracurricular. Like there's so much you could do. So and the college provides like a lot of that stuff too. So you can find like a spot pretty easily, and I think it's definitely recommended because when you find like your group that's hanging out, so like it's good. So yeah, definitely time management is important.
How do you guys feel how do you feel you adjusted, or how was the first few weeks? I know you guys talked about a little bit as far as like dorm life and like sharing things with people that you weren't or familiar with, that you hadn't done, like living at home. Like how was that adjustment for you?
I don't think it was that bad.
For me, I think go ahead.
No, you can go, Sam. Go for it.
All right. For me, it wasn't. I mean, like being the first time far away from home. I was playing right away. I think it was easy. I just, I'd say definitely make a lot of friends quickly because the quicker you make friends, you forget about like being away from home, being away from your family. So I think it was just my friends made me cope with being away from home.
Go ahead, Gabby.
All right. Yeah, no, it wasn't that bad. Definitely, like my school's not that far, but definitely being away from my parents because we made a deal that we wouldn't be able to see each other till like Halloween or something like that, just so I could get used to like staying at home and not coming home so often.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like when it comes to sharing things with like your roommate and stuff like that, me and her kind of laid down like what we wanted to do at the beginning of the year when it came to our things. Like if we wanted to use something, we had to ask first. And I thought that was a decent approach. That way she wasn't taking things without even asking and stuff.
Kind of
Yeah.
what Katie said. Oh.
Sorry.
How she said she wasn't gonna see her
You
parents.
can go.
It's like I think it's definitely important to try and stay at
Could you actually give them to me up here? Could you just pass me the whole thing? Yes, she can't open.
as much as you can, like stay at school, because I noticed that like a lot of people that went home a lot, like you like didn't adjust to school as well. So try your best to like just stay, even if it's like uncomfortable at first. Like stay and try and make friends, and it'll help you a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Like I wasn't that far away from home either, but I just learned that the longer I was away from home, the less like I missed it. Not trying to be like you didn't like home or anything, but like it's nice having that type of freedom. You don't have to ask your parents if you can go somewhere. So I enjoyed it at least.
Yeah, same here. For me, living away from home, I don't live that far. I live like an hour and a half. But it's getting along with your roommates. Luckily for me, my three other roommates were also on the baseball team, so we pretty much had the same schedule based on practices and stuff. It's not different times that we're up or going to bed. We're pretty much all on the same schedule with practice and also doing schoolwork. Overall, it's pretty easy to adjust with not being away from home the longer that you are away from home. But you do end up missing it here and there with certain things. Like if, say, somebody has a birthday in your family, you're usually there celebrating it with them, but sometimes you aren't, and it's hard not being there with them during that time.
Yeah, it's definitely important to stay in contact like with your family though. Just like that helps too. Like just reaching out to your parents, like saying hi to them, like that definitely just makes it feel better. Like I wasn't close to home, but just like talking to them made the transition much easier.
Yeah, I think the roommate situation is pretty important. Like whoever's your roommate, you're gonna spend like a pretty good amount of time with them. Like luckily for me, like my roommate and I became like very good. So people that didn't have a great room situation, they would come to our time. And like actually in the second semester, my roommate and I opted and we had every single class together, and like we were on the same schedule. Like we were both on the baseball team, and it actually like really worked out well. So I think the roommate situation is pretty important. But yeah.
Kind of just going back to.
Go ahead, Taylor.
To what Emily and Sid were saying, just like at first you kind of like maybe being a little bit homesick, and you like I'd just say definitely stay like on the weekends, stay campus and like force yourself to make friends. Like you don't have to be friends with your roommate, because like I had some troubles with mine, and like with the roommate survey, I'd say definitely be honest with yourself too, because going I remember filling out the survey, and like if you ask what time like you want to go to bed at, and don't say what time you want to go to bed at, say what time you actually go to bed, because it just causes problems like late at night, early in the morning when people are trying to go to bed or wake up, and it's not really anybody's fault. It's just how the random roommate survey matched.
Okay. From an academic standpoint, how did you guys feel like you were prepared from when you left BG to how you got into school for the first few weeks and as the semester went on? Do you feel like you guys were prepared, or you were able to adjust to the workload as it came through?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I was prepared. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you're gonna is gonna be a little bit more complex than in high school, but be really prepared for like the workload because it's also like more work, but you just kind of have to like grind through it, and you're gonna be more prepared than others going into it already. So you're gonna find it a little bit easier than others. So it definitely helped, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Steven. I thought that BG helped me a lot actually with writing papers because in college you do write a lot of papers. For doing a research project every year at BG, like that really helped me like be able to write a lot of stuff. But yeah, like what Steven said, you do have a lot of work. Like it's college, like you're gonna get a lot, but you also have a lot of free time to do it. So just like a bit of advice is to like use your time wisely when it comes to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely don't push off
go
your
ahead, Mark.
assignments in the end. Sorry.
No, you can go.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, definitely don't push off your assignments to the like till when they're due. Like, just get them done early, so like it doesn't make it like much harder.
Yeah, going off of what M said, like the paper thing, I transferred to BG my sophomore year, and like my first school, it didn't help me at all, like paper wise, and I was a very bad writer. And BG, like the research process and stuff like that, like all of it made me like a better writer. And all my college professors have said that like my papers are very good, and that's like a lot of the things that you're gonna do is writing. So
Kind of a follow-up
Yeah.
to that question. One sec, Noah.
Okay.
So as far as like the workload and whatnot, do you guys feel that you get long-term assignments? Do you get like homework that's due if your class meets on Monday? Is it due on Wednesday when next time it meets? Like what's the kind of plan for that type of school setting or school work?
They definitely give you like a lot of time since like it could be different for different colleges, but my classes meet twice a week, so sometimes it's like Monday, Thursday, or like Tuesday, Friday. So no matter what the homework is, you'll usually have at least 3 days to do it. And then papers, they really help you, and like it's usually like a 3-week or 2-week period that they assign them in.
Yeah, with us, for me with homework, I have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and also Tuesday and Thursday too. So pretty much my Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, it's due every other class period. But sometimes like they'll give us long-term homework assignments that are like, I don't know, for my calc class, like 50 problems to due on a Friday if they give it to you on a Monday. But it's also short-term assignments too that you can get done in like a matter of 20 minutes to 40 minutes of just solely focusing on doing homework throughout the week. It varies with the teacher, but also with the college too.
For me, in every single class, our teacher gives out like a syllabus of like every single assignment we're gonna have for the year. So it's like we kind of get definitely time to go out. Like we have a lot of time to do assignments from let's do like either the next class or within like the next 2 weeks. So it's definitely nice. I kind of get the same both worlds, I guess.
Yeah, the syllabus is definitely helping. That's something new for like that never happened in high school. Is like it's a syllabus and every single assignment will be on there. So if you like to like do things early, you'll like that because you can basically do your whole like workload in like a good amount of time. So like that will help you.
Yeah, the syllabus does help. The syllabus does help a lot because it lays out assignments like Sid said. My history teacher, he has all of our assignments laid out and he's like, oh, you can work on them whenever you want, but he just gives us the due dates that they're due. It gives like us more of like an overview of what the whole semester is going to look like. Like it also lays out the all like my calc teacher, my first semester, it laid out all the homeworks, all the quizzes, and all the tests that he was going to do during that semester.
So do they remind you guys when the assignments are due, or is it because they gave you the syllabus, the expectation is you handed it on whatever the due date is?
No, they definitely give you reminders. At least for me, they would always give us reminders because how it worked for me was I had a lot of short-term assignments, but then I would also have those long-term assignments at the same time. So they would expect that you're already working on them, but they definitely remind you like a week ahead or like maybe a week and a half ahead that those things are coming up and like to start focusing more on that.
Yeah, I agree with Steven. I have this term project going on right now, but like what was kind of tough, but you'll see this too when you get to college. There's some teachers that won't remind you. So my teacher assigned it in like February and it's due next week, and he never even told us about it at all. So you just gotta like keep looking at stuff too, like always reminding yourself too, which helps.
I think what's kind of also important is kind of read it, like just finding out what your professors expect of you, because some don't really, if you're like not doing well, you're held accountable. They're not going to reach out to you and say, oh, what's going on. You really have to stand up for yourself, and that's how you're going to succeed.
Yeah, like if you're doing bad in the class, it's not the professor's job to come up to you and be like, oh, let's have a meeting about this. It's your job to recognize that you're struggling and to also recognize that you need help, and to go to office hours that the teacher offers. And at Endicott, they have a whole tutoring center with upperclassmen that have passed the class with no lower than an A- in the course, and they're there throughout the day when they don't have classes, waiting there to help out students that need help.
So for you guys that have your majors, how much of your academic course load has been major focused, or how much of it has been like your general ed requirements during your freshman year?
A lot of it is gen ed your freshman year, for me at least. Like the first semester I had like one course that was designated to my major, and then all the others were like English, math, history. So the first semester wasn't like wicked interesting, but as you go on, it gets like more into your major and you'll be more interested in the classes.
Yeah, it's the same with me. I only had one business class my first semester, and like then it carried over. Like I did micro, and then now I'm doing macroeconomics. So it's like you only do one for basically for the first year for me, at least.
For me, it was like they give us gen eds, but I'm a psych major, so each semester you have to take a psychology class to try to determine what type of psychology you want to take going on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, since I'm a science-based major, I actually had 3 meteorology classes my first semester, so we went like right into it. But as you grow like into the program, you do get a lot of like all your courses are just your major based.
Yeah, for me, with being a STEM major, it was right out of the gate. Pretty much all my courses were major based, besides my English and my gen ed that I had to do. So it was like I had like 6 or 7 classes my first semester.
I think if you know your major, so I'm not an accounting major, but I know that some kids who are accounting majors, they had to start out like they took an accounting major the first semester because they needed to get ahead of schedule, because most courses require a prerequisite to get to the next level. So I think that it depends what also your major is, and like health sciences would be like different than business students. Business students would take a core all different, like management or CIS, while like a health science has to take biology first before it can go on to the next. It depends what like school you're in, if it builds on upon the material builds on upon one another or not.
Yeah, school's definitely dependent on that, because for my school it's a little bit different than most colleges. Mine's just like only a business school. So my courses that I take are like in a semester, like I'll be like a max of like 2 gen ed classes, and like I'm pretty much always taking business classes, and like all the classes that I take all revolve around business. So it honestly depends on like what your school is and like what your major you're going into.
So someone asked the question as far as like tests. How frequently do you guys get tests, and are they like essay based, or is it like an actual sit down like test where you have to write the answer? Like, kind of what do you guys have for that?
It really depends on the class. When I had 4 calc tests this semester, and it was like over the couple of weeks. So like one test, you could have it on like 3 weeks, like worth of notes. But it really just depends on the class, like what you're taking, whether you're going to write like an essay like an in-class essay or like an actual sit-down test?
Yeah, I honestly didn't get that many tests. I only got tests in like math and history, and all the others are basically paper based, and like they don't really do testing like they do in high school. It's kind of nice, but it's mostly papers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely dependent. For me, like a lot of my classes will either do tests and quizzes, or you'll just get 4 tests throughout the semester. And most of them are Scantrons, and you'll get like 3 short answer questions to answer at the end. But for the most part, like it's mainly tests and essays, and they're usually spaced out with like a quiz, but most of the teachers will do like 3 chapters worth of material on one test for 4 tests for the semester.
Yeah, going off what Gabby said, for me, my tests were every 5th week and 10th week of the semester, but also the only mainly sit down portion of a test that I had was in my calc class, but then the rest were either paper based, short essays, or project based tests. It was nothing really like sit down in class for an hour or an hour and a half and to take a test. It's more on your own time, sometimes with some classes, and writing out a test.
Okay. So if there was any advice you guys could give to BG students about the college process, or just kind of like selecting your college, like what would that be, or like what sort of insight do you guys have into that?
I would say always be willing to test yourselves. Always search for like some sort of like truth. Always. Is my audio still crappy? Is it all
It's not good.
now?
It's probably
Yeah.
Sam.
I'm getting all right. All right.
Steven, why don't you go?
What was the question again? Sorry. I was a
So
little
if you guys,
distracted.
if any of you had any insight or any kind of advice you could give to juniors, seniors, whoever is at BG, as far as like college planning, the college process, like what advice would you give them as far as the whole process goes?
Definitely look at a lot of options and find out like what you want to do, because I think it depends on where you feel at home the most. When I was visiting colleges, there's a lot of colleges that I just did not like, and I just could not see myself there. And you're gonna go visit some colleges, and you're gonna like really feel at home at one, and you just want to like make sure that they have your interests and your major that you're gonna study, because I think that's really important. You're studying something that you get much more about it, and then you're gonna succeed a lot better. And then if you feel like you're at home, it's just like a much easier transition. So that's what it was for me.
Yeah, going off what Steven said, like it's really important to like think about what you want to like study, but it's also important to think about like you want a big school or like a small school, because that's like a really big like it's like that could be a big effect like on your experience there.
Yeah, also going off with what Mark said with being big or small, also the placement of where the school is, like if it's like in the city or not in the city, and also having your major too. Like you got to make it feel like home to you. Like if you feel like you like the city more than not being in a college that's in the city, it really depends on what will make you feel at home.
Yeah, for me,
Go ahead, Gabby.
going Sid, I'm for me, like as weird as it sounds, like I did a lot of overnights, so that helped too. Like if you're playing a sport, I would do overnights, because the school that I chose was one of my like last options until I did an overnight, and then I fell in love with it. But besides like sport aspect, for me, I toured like all the schools that I liked and didn't like, and a lot of them were very close to like what I did like. And so I wrote a pros and cons list down for it, and like whatever school had the most pros is pretty much the school that I chose.
So for like the planning process, it sounds really weird, and it's mostly for like the seniors, but you're gonna need like a lot of stuff to bring if you're moving in, and it's like kind of overwhelming if you got it in one day. So like what me and my mom did is like I would get like a few things at a time, because you need so much stuff, you're not gonna be able to get it. And it's just better to like throughout the summer just get a few things because it will get really overwhelming. You might get stressed out.
I think also when you're looking at schools and you're doing research and you find one you might like, when you go and visit that school, don't just walk like obviously you want to see the school, but don't just walk around with your parent. Like go on a tour with a tour guide, go to an information session, or go on a shadow day, because that definitely gives you a better idea of the people and what the selling points of the school are, versus just walking around and saying, oh, this building looks nice, or the campus looks nice. You don't really have a good idea unless people are talking to you.
Steven, I know you applied early decision. I think I worked with it. I don't think anybody else did, but can you talk a little bit about kind of your thought process when you were going through that?
Yeah. So I had to go because it was like the only way I was going to get in. So I had to do it. But honestly, it was really nice because I knew where I was going in, I want to say it was like maybe October. So I was already decided by October where I was going. So that all the stress that I had senior year, I just had to get decent grades. So I liked early decision. And I think it definitely helps you get into colleges that might be a little bit of a reach for you. So if you really are decided on one college and you really want to go there, and it's a little bit harder to get into, then I think it's definitely a good move because I think it does help.
So for those of you guys that applied early action, what were your thoughts about that versus regular decision or later deadlines? How did you guys feel as far as balancing school and kind of the college application process the first couple months of the school year as seniors?
I think it was definitely a lot less stressful having an idea, hearing back from schools earlier, because once you know you got into a school, you don't have to wait more, and then even having to go visit the school again once you get in. You don't have to worry about that, and it just saves a lot of stress and having to make a decision later on.
Yeah, it was stressful going through the process at the beginning, but then with writing the essay and filling out all the applications. But once turning the application in and just waiting to hear back from the colleges that you applied to really took a good amount of stress off of you. And then when you heard back from the colleges, it just added another layer of excitement to knowing that you got accepted into a college and that all you have to do is just make a decision for what place makes you feel more at home and what you think will benefit you for when you graduate.
Anybody else? Sydney?
Well, I only applied to one, so it's probably a little different.
Yeah, I know a couple of you guys went there for athletics, but so is there any other advice or any tips you guys would want to give to any BG high school students as far as what they can do to make themselves more marketable or more appealing, or anything you can give them that helps during the college process?
Well, one thing I did is I waited last minute to kind of choose my college and do all these tours. So yeah, definitely don't do that, and kind of figure out what you where you want to go based on what we were just talking about. Because I kind of changed my mind last minute thinking that I was going to go really south and stuff. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to go that far from home. So I decided to apply to colleges more close, and I don't regret that decision, but I do regret waiting till the last minute because that just added a lot of stress for me.
I mean, when applying to colleges and when you commit to one, make sure that that's the school you want to go to, because I made the mistake of committing to a college my junior year, and then I was committed to that college for about 6 months and then realized I didn't want to go there anymore. So I had to restart it all over again, and it just adds a lot of stress. So when you are deciding where you want to go, make sure you really want to go there.
Yeah, this isn't really much about the deciding process, but get to college. One thing advice that I could give was that I think most people have like some time in like their first semester, they find it kind of difficult being away from home or like making new friends or whatever it is with your college. So like you're gonna find something like you don't like about your school or like something that you feel a little bit uncomfortable with. But like everybody goes through it and everybody it's like it's a very natural feeling. So like don't feel like overwhelmed or anything by like once you get to college because like I think it really just happens to everybody. And then like by like the end of the first semester, like you really start to feel like you belong and it's like it's good. So yeah, that's my advice.
I think also when you want to go into a school, maybe a school that's not as much of a stretch for you and you're pretty sure you're going to get in, even just showing like having good grades senior year, you can get more money in terms of scholarship, which definitely helps a lot when attending a school.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off that, what's one thing that kind of surprised you guys or like you didn't expect with the college process that when it was all said and done, you guys kind of look back and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that was different.
Wait, what?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So while you guys were going through the college process, was there something you expected to be one way and it ultimately wasn't the way, like whether it was going through the application process, talking with the schools themselves, you know, discussing a major? Is there something you thought was going to be easy, hard, that ultimately went the other way? I guess is what I'm asking. So for like Taylor, for you, you know, you said you're in the honors program. Like, so how did that work out for you? Did you apply to that, or did they come and ask you to be in it? Like, what was the process of that?
So when I got accepted to Quinnipiac I applied to the business school and they notified me that, okay, you also got into the 3+1 program. I'm like, oh, that was a huge selling point for me. So I ended up going to the school tour and they told me about it. And that was like, I didn't apply to the program. That's kind of, I think, a different like situation compared to normally when you go to a school, like you might apply to the honors program, but in terms of the program I got into, like you have to be accepted into it even before you before you start taking classes.
So for those of you, like, aside from the sports aspect, like what's one of the things you guys did to get involved with your school? Like, what are the things that the school offered? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but what are the things that you guys did at the school?
It's definitely probably different for each school, but for mine, my dorm hall, they like did a lot of stuff with our community. Like we'd have like these things called floor wars, and like each floor would have like compete against each other for, it's like basically icebreaker activities, but they're not awkward or anything. And it was just like a good way to like meet the people in your hall and stuff, and it definitely got you more involved in a good way.
So this is about getting more involved. Like, is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, like what did Plymouth do aside from you being involved with lacrosse to kind of promote student involvement or student engagement in the school from the beginning of when you got there?
Okay, so for my major, there's this club called American Meteorological Society, and it's like a nationwide club, and like all the meteorology kids are required to join it, but like you don't have to stay in it. But I actually ended up being on the board for it, and I actually met a lot of kids in like the higher part of my major, so I had people to like lean on just in case like something went wrong with the major and stuff. So like a lot of like mentors almost. So I like that.
For me, my school does a lot. It's kind of similar to BG, like how they really try to get everybody involved and do all these activities. So for me, like my RA would do programs like during the weekends that you could go to, like a movie night and stuff like that, to get people to know people like in your hall. And then like the school itself would do like a school-wide thing. Like there's a building called Garrity, what they have like an arcade in it, and then they do like all these different things. Like we had, like you could stuff an animal, like do all this stuff, like your own Build-A-Bear thing. But it's definitely like one of those things you could choose to not go to, but if you're looking to try to make friends and kind of get out of your comfort zone, that's definitely something that you could do to get involved, like especially with clubs too. Like just kind of put yourself out there, because everybody's going through the same thing that you are.
To add to that, if you guys have like accepted students day or like there's like different things colleges do, they can be really awkward. Like mine was really awkward, and the icebreakers we did were like really weird and like uncomfortable. But like, don't like base that on like get stressed from that and be like, oh, I'm gonna hate college because of this. Like, it's not like that. It's just awkward at first.
So I know for the most of you guys on here, you play a sport. So can you guys just talk? I know it was talked about a little bit at the beginning, but can you guys talk a little bit about like time management and kind of like how you find the balance between being involved academically and then kind of doing all of your athletic stuff? Like, I know Emily talked about it at the D3 level, but there still is kind of a really high commitment level. So you guys want to talk about that a little bit?
I mean, doing sports is really fun in college. The only different part about doing sports is the competition level. Once you get to college, you realize that you'll be playing against like 22-year-olds compared to like your average 16, 17-year-old in high school. But a big thing that teams do are study hours in like the library. I mean, at my school, it really depends on what the team GPA is. So I know like the football team would do it a lot since there's a bunch of kids, but it's like 3 hours in the library, like every so often in the week, and you just do all your homework there.
Yeah, I know a lot of teams at Babson, they have study halls based on their GPAs. I know for us on the baseball team, we don't have study halls or study hours with our team, but it's like you have to do well in school if you want to play. So there's definitely a little bit of pressure to do well in school. But with like time management, it's like you're gonna have time to do work, but you just have to just balance it out. You just kind of have to get into a routine. It takes like a couple weeks to get your routine down, but once you have your routine and you have a good one, it makes everything so much easier. At least for me, it was.
Yeah, like depending on what sport, if it's in the fall or the spring, it will like vary. But for me, since I played lacrosse and it was just in the spring, we came into the fall with like fall ball, and it was a little less like commitment than during like the actual season. So we did like 5 days a week instead of like every day, and like it definitely like helped to like get in the swing of things. Like we'd have practice, and then some people go to the library, and like it wasn't as big of a commitment as it would be in the spring. So it like helped me like get in a routine for the real season.
Buddy. So one of the questions that was asked earlier was, for those of you that took any AP courses, did any of those credits transfer into the colleges you're at? I know that was something that a lot of kids have asked us during the school year.
Well, I know I didn't get any AP credits because I didn't do well enough on whatever the test, but the kids that do get credits, it's like a pretty big deal because for me, my housing is based off of credits. So if you go in with more credits than just whatever you're taking at college, you're going to have priority in housing. And for your junior and senior year, it's a pretty big deal because those houses and like suites, they fill up fast. So if you have priority over that, it's a pretty big deal. So if you can get credits for the APs, it's a good thing. And I think they do transfer over pretty easily because I know a lot of kids that do have them.
I know, like, I didn't take any APs, but I know a couple people at my school that it kind of depends on, like, what your school is and what test you're looking to, like, be applied for credit. There were a couple people that I talked to that some of their classes did transfer over into credits, and even if they did do well on the test, like, some of them didn't. So it kind of depends on the school and, like, what they're offering.
What happened to me is I didn't take any APs, but I took honors stats senior year, and I learned a lot in that class. And then ended up freshman year of college, I took like a very similar course, and it was really easy for me, and it was like the same material, and that kind of was a waste of a $3,000 credit because I'm taking the class where I already learned all the material. So definitely, if there's like a subject you're passionate about and that's where you're going to go and that's the path you're going to follow in college, I definitely recommend taking an AP for that so you can get credit as well going into college.
Okay, just to shift a little bit, obviously this is a new learning platform for everybody. So all of you are completing your semesters online. Like, what's that been like from the college setting, and like how much communication has the college itself or your teachers have with you guys, or like what are they expecting from you guys until the end of your school year in a couple of weeks for some of you?
Well, for me, it's like most of my classes meet at their normal times. So like I have like my normal schedule basically. I would have to be in the Zoom class like with my camera on and all that. So it's like you can't slack off. But so it's like, I mean, I get like a lot of emails with like them telling us what we want to do and like same assignments, but a lot of like the assignments are forming to like being online. So like they're changing the criteria a little bit.
Yeah, mine's like some Zoom and some just online, but they're definitely like still there for us, sending like emails like every day. I'd definitely rather be in school, but it's like working fine, and we still have the same papers and stuff too. Some of my teachers cut it down to only one class a week and the same amount of work, just only one class a week, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's more for me, like it dropped down to having 4 classes in one day down to one Zoom class a day. But still I still have 3 teachers that still hold a Zoom call 8 in the morning, still teach, still go over a lecture. But for other classes, it's a lot more work than they would give in the class if we were at school, and sometimes very little instruction to it. So it's pretty much teaching yourself with it, but also having the motivation to do it but also if you get stuck as well, emailing the teacher and having them email you back with like an answer to your question, or to also having a one-on-one Zoom meeting with them so they can help you go over what you are stuck on.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing for me. Like we only have like one Zoom call for one class for me, and then like a lot of the teachers will post the lectures online, and then you just pretty much have to read the textbook and kind of like do all that. But a lot of my classes that would have like one test for every 3 chapters, they cut it down to a quiz per week on one chapter, and they just like give you a certain amount of time to do it. But for the most part, for me, it's mostly self-taught, but a lot of the teachers will be there like to answer questions and stuff.
Has your college been communicating with you all about like what their plan is for next fall, or like kind of just, like, do they know what they're doing, or are they just kind of taking it day by day?
I mean, they haven't told us yet, but I'm thinking we're gonna go back, hopefully, because we already did like the rooming stuff, and we already picked classes too. So they just keep updating us, but they haven't updated us in a while. So I think it's all up in the air right now.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit from my coach because we stay in contact with our whole team. We've been holding some WebEx meetings. So I know that my college is planning on returning at a normal date in the fall. And if anything, it would be pushed back like 2 weeks or something if it were to go on a little bit longer. And their backup plan for us would be that if it does start to outbreak again in the early winter or late fall, then they would just send us home again. But I think they do plan on getting us back in the fall.
We got an email this morning actually, and it was saying how they might push it back till January again, or they're talking about till 2021. So I don't know.
That would be January.
No, Sid, that means that it's for
like
me too.
Like a whole year.
No, I was just joking.
Oh, Sid, no.
Are there any other questions from any of the BG students? I think going through the chats, I answered most of them. Okay, Lillian just asked a question. How did you guys deal with being sent home from college? Like, what was that process like? Like, how quickly did you have to do that? Especially with like Sam and Mark, you guys are further away than some of the rest of you in this group.
Well, I had just gotten back from spring break, so I got back on Sunday, and then like everything started. All the schools around me, like Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland and all that, started to close down. So like we thought we'd like realized it was a possibility, and then so that Tuesday we got the email saying that had to get out by Wednesday. So like it was just a quick turnaround. It was like kind of crazy just getting back and then having to go back home again.
Did you have to leave stuff at Loyola?
Yeah, I still haven't got my stuff, and I can't get it till like, I mean, they haven't even told us when.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it was like most of my teachers had told me like bring most of your stuff home just in case. So like over spring break, I got sent home and I brought back all my textbooks and I brought back like a bunch of clothes, thinking that like we were just gonna go back the 14th or whatever, because that's when they said that we were gonna go back. And then they ended up like canceling altogether. So they gave us a deadline to like go get our stuff, and I did it right before like Rhode Island went into a state of emergency. So they pretty much just gave us a time slot, and I like went and just moved everything out all in one day. So
Yeah, ours was kind of weird since my school is so far up north. There's not a lot of like towns and stuff, but they told us the week before our spring break that like we should be getting an email like what we're gonna do. So my lacrosse team and we were actually in Colorado for spring break, so it was kind of tough out there. Like we were really following the news and like the emails, and then they just they ended up suspending like in class stuff until like April 3rd or something. But like we got that while we were out in Colorado, so it was kind of nerve wracking trying to get back to like we were flying back into Boston from Denver, so it was just kind of tough. And then we ended up moving out the next day anyways, so it was just really scary too trying to get back.
Yeah, mine was kind of. Oh, sorry, no.
You can go, Sid.
Mine was kind of weird too because we were on spring break, but the like teams were there because we still had the practice. So we were like practicing, and then we got an email that our classes would be suspended 2 weeks. But at that time, the NE10 didn't cancel anything, so we got to like stay in practice still. So we practiced like a day more, and then they canceled the NE10, and we got sent home. But we couldn't take any of our stuff yet, and it was really frustrating.
Mark, were you or for those that didn't have a car, were you able to find a flight or get a ride back to your hometown relatively quick, or like, what was that process like?
Yeah, well, I flew out that Wednesday morning, so it was like, and the airport was like basically empty too. Like my flight, I had like there was me and Chris were on the same flight, and there was nobody like on our flight. It was weird, but it was pretty easy.
Can you guys talk a little bit about like when you were going through, this is kind of a off topic. Can you talk a little bit about like what made your decision as far as going far away versus close to home, or like what factors led to that?
Well, for me, it was just I really like the school and I like the area that it was in. Like I like the city, so I mean, my school is right outside the city. It's like 5-minute drive right into the inner harbor, so it's nice. And I liked I don't know, the campus felt right to me. That was the difference.
I like being around the Boston area.
Sam, you're not gonna be able to hear Sam. So.
Let's give him a shot.
I gotta just get away. Baseball in Florida, so I just needed to go down play baseball in Florida. So it was awesome. Hopefully you heard that. Probably not,
but. I like being in Boston for sure. I think there's a lot of colleges in the Boston area. So if you have a lot of friends that are looking at those colleges, like you're going to be able to see them. So there are a lot of students around that area, and I like being close to home. So it's only like an hour drive from Nashua. So it's really not that bad. And there's just so many people there. So you're going to see a lot of people.
Yeah, I was always looking in like the New England area and not like too far. And I'm only like 45, 50 minutes away, and it's like perfect for me because I don't ever go home, but like if I did need something from home, it's not like a far drive to get it, and it's like nice having the comfort of knowing I could go home, but like
yeah. For me, like I don't know, I wanted to go far and stuff like that, but as it started getting closer and like more real, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Like I kind of settled on a place that like Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so like it was far enough that I couldn't come home every weekend, but like if I wanted to, I could come home. But I ended up like staying there for a majority of it. I never ended up really coming home that often. So
Yeah, for me, it was the first school that I ever looked at was UCSD out all the way out in California. Um, it was for me when I did it. It was the realization that I'd be a 6 hour flight from home. I wouldn't be able to see my family as much as I would now that I am because I'm only an hour and a half drive away from my house. But also like it's close to home, but also like close enough to Boston that me and friends can go in and like go to a Red Sox game or just go and walk around Boston.
So for one of the questions someone asked was, for those of you that don't have a car, what do you guys do about transportation at your schools?
Uber.
It's
I try to with other people. I take other people's cars too.
I don't like it, but it's the only way you can get around it. I mean, there's no like T like Boston. Like there's no really easy public transportation. Like they used to have a bus that would take you down in the city, but they got rid of it because everybody would just use Uber. So.
For us, we have a trolley like on campus that you can take to like all different stops, and with your like school ID, you can get on it for free and stuff. Or I'll just ask like an upperclassman for a ride somewhere.
Yeah, like there's like not a lot of places to go near me, but most of my friends have cars, so we would just do that.
Okay.
About a 20-minute drive from New Haven in Connecticut, and there's shuttles that take us to New Haven and back, and they make stops like Gabby was saying, and also Uber. People like Uber on the weekends.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I think we're wrapping up. We have about 15 minutes before the next session. So for the panel, is there anything one last thing, piece of advice you want to give to the group before you guys are all set?
I would definitely say the biggest thing I learned in college and kind of even coming back home and taking online classes is that you're paying so much to go to college, but it's not just for the classes you're taking. Like part of that fee is for all the resources that the school has and all the clubs you can participate in. So if some people are trying to make a decision between, should I take classes online or should I go to college? I think really it depends on do you want that college life and living away from home? And that's the biggest thing for me. Like going to college isn't just taking classes; it's the whole experience and living away from home, which I never realized till I was at school and how many resources there are.
Yeah, you just got to put yourself out there. Even though if you are going to college for a sport and you're on a sports team, still try and get yourself out there with clubs and any organizations that your college offers you. But also if you do try out for a sport and you don't make it, that doesn't mean that the school doesn't have an intramural for that certain type of sport. Go try out for that, or try and join as many clubs as you can to get involved with your campus community.
I would say don't let the college application process and picking a college stress you out too much, because once you get there and you find the right one, you're gonna have a lot of fun. It's a good time.
Yeah. Along with Cindy said, it's definitely don't let that stress you out, because college, I know it's kind of cliche and everybody says it, but college really is the best 4 years. It's so fun. And I know my freshman year I had a really good time, and I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. So don't get too stressed out over the application process, and you guys will all do well, because BG just kind of sets you up pretty good. So you're gonna be able to manage your time. You're gonna have a lot of free time, and you're gonna have a lot of freedom. So it's it's a really nice opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, going off of what everyone said, I would just say just have fun with it. Like what Steven said too, it is a fun time because you do get to leave the house, do whatever. But yeah, I would just say as a whole, it's gonna pay off.
All right. If there's no other questions, thank you to the college freshmen for doing this. I hope that it was useful for the students that joined. And I guess we're all set. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.